Hello and welcome back to the Douglas Fir Association. I'm very tired, but we're here and we're going to talk about another David Lynch film, 1997, I believe, Lost Highway, which was your pick. Um,
Yep.
for housekeeping purposes, to sum up the plot, well, could you even sum up the plot? I don't know if that's even possible.
You can't.
Trying to remember because it's been a couple weeks since we watched this, and his name was Fred, right? Bill Pullman's character.
Believe so, yes.
I think so. Yeah. Anyway, Bill Pullman plays a guy, musician, who's having trouble with his wife, Renee, played by Patricia Arquette. There's a bit of a distance going on in their relationship, and it seems they're getting stalked. They receive these mysterious videotapes that show footage of outside their house, and each subsequent tape is moving into their house and stuff, and so they're very disturbed by this. And then he goes to jail, and then the film completely changes to a whole other story,
Yeah.
and then we're off to the races, and that's about as much real plot as you could probably give it, other than I think it's Balthazar Getty plays a young man who's a mechanic, and he encounters a woman who looks suspiciously like Bill Pullman's wife from the first half of the film. And there are links that start to appear, and a mystery forms, and a story presents itself. What did you think of Lost Highway?
I absolutely loved it, to be honest. I mean, it was very. I found it difficult to follow in parts. I think it's because I was trying to, um, I was trying to make sense of it when I should have just been watching it to the first time round and then go back to it in the future to try and make sense of it a bit more. I think. So I found myself getting caught up with, well, does this mean this and does that mean that? So I think I got myself a bit too involved with trying to figure out the story and untangle whatever mystery was there. Um, but yeah, I really enjoyed it for the most part. I mean, it's fantastic performances. Patricia Arquette was great. Bill Pullman was great as well. Some fantastic performances. Obviously, got some great cameos in there as well. But yeah, I really enjoyed it for the most part. Man, how about yourself?
I would say when I first watched it, I'm just going to look up the names because it'll bug me if I get them wrong. I would say that when I first watched it, compared to all of his other films, it's probably my least favorite.
Hmm.
And I would say now it's still my least favorite David Lynch film, and I pretty much love it too. So that kind of gives you a kind of, well, actually no, I would say that in my mind's eye, Eraserhead is probably at the bottom, just because how dense it was and how I mean it was from memory it was very visually arresting but hard to get into. But I haven't
Hmm.
gone back to it since becoming a David Lynch fan, so that's going to be interesting once we get to that. But
Yeah.
it's near the bottom, but I mean, we both got the criterion of it. I got the 4K, and it looked great. So it was nice to see like a restored version that I hadn't seen before visually,
Yeah.
in that sense. But um, now knowing where it goes, because when I first watched it, it's like okay, it's like two films. It's
Yeah.
almost. I think it's about 40-45 minutes with Bill Pullman, and then it switches to it is Balthazar Getty. Okay, so it's a tale of two movies in a way, but and the pacing is so much different. That's the one thing that struck me
Yeah.
this time. Like the first half is like it's like psychological horror almost.
Yeah.
Really
Absolutely.
slow paced, so much dread, quiet, not a lot of dialogue, darkness. And then once you get to Balthazar Getty's section, it's like it opens up and you're in Hollywood and like it's a set in the day for a lot of it, and
Yeah.
there's like there's sunlight and there's comedy, there's lighthearted stuff, and then it all kind of funnels towards the darker kind of third act of the film. But the pacing
Yeah.
is very much like a normal film once you get to that second half, whereas in the first half it's really almost experimental, like really long. The thing that struck me was that there's a bit at night where Bill Pullman's character he's kind of up late at night, and he's just you can tell he's feeling suspicious about something. Well, it's hinted at that he fears his wife is not faithful to him, but there's like where the bedroom is, he kind of turns around a corner and there's just this corridor, and it's
Yeah.
just pitch black.
Complete darkness. Yeah.
And it's beautifully filmed because you see just the bare kind of edges of the corridor, so you can get a sense of the space. But in the middle, it's like nothing. You can't see anything.
Yeah,
And it just lingers on that. And that to me is like the most unsettling or scary a film can get. You know, it's not the gore or monsters or creatures or ghosts, or it's what's around that corner, and
yeah.
building planting an idea in the audience's mind that there is something around that corner just by holding on it longer than you normally would. And I loved that corridor sequence. And I think she looks down there later on too. So
Yeah, he goes and looks in the mirror, doesn't he?
right, yeah, the mirror,
Yeah,
which is a key to it all. I think. I think, you know, having looked at certain theories and things, I think that the mystery of this one isn't as complex as it might seem. But I also don't think everything fits together. I don't think that matters either.
no, no,
But yeah, it's I really there's moments I absolutely love in it. You know, the whole mystery man sequence the first time you see him.
yeah.
It's just such a great the way the sound drops down and he comes in and, you know, we've met before, haven't we? You know, the whole
Such a
scene like
yeah, such a haunting look to him as well.
yeah, so Robert Blake, I believe, was the guy's name. Do you know much about this guy?
No, no.
Mm. So apparently he murdered his wife. That's a big, you know,
Okay.
there's a lot to that, and it seems pretty likely that he did it. And knowing that he's, I don't know, it adds an extra creepiness to it for me, having
Mm,
gone back to it for a second time, because he's a very
yeah,
convincing, unsettling individual. And he's a very, I mean, mystery man speaks for itself. It feels like we're entering Twin Peaks a little bit. It's like, who is this person? Where are they from? What realm are they from?
yeah.
Why are they there? But I love that whole exchange. Like, you know, where is it you think we've met? At your house, don't you remember? As a matter of fact, I'm there right now. Like, what the fuck? Like, it's such a sinister. I don't know. What do you make of him? You know, throughout the film, as his various appearances.
Yeah, great man. It's terrifying to be honest. Very very mysterious character. Almost reminded me of the man from another place from Twin Peaks. He had that same kind of vibe to him. They're very mysterious and almost otherworldly, which definitely sort of fit the bill for it, I think. But yeah, really creepy, man. Really, really, really dark stuff.
Yeah,
Especially that end sort of scene as well.
yeah, yeah. Um, that whole thing of like the video camera and so I get that. Do you have any like interpretation of the film before I get into it? Like any kind of particular read on?
Not particularly. No, I was trying to piece how the two stories fit together, and
Yeah.
I was trying to see if maybe because when he comes out of the prison cell, when when the two stories cross over, he comes out of the prison cell, and I was wondering if maybe he was the former inmate of that cell, and he's gone back in time, sort of almost.
Okay.
Um,
Huh.
that crossed my mind at one point, but then obviously it doesn't really work out. Um, but I don't know, man. It's such a jarring experience to go from the first story to the next. Well, not really jarring. In fact, they both work great as self-contained stories, but me trying to meld them together, I think, just sort of maybe not hindered my viewing experience, but I should have just gone with the flow of it basically, and not tried to piece the puzzle together. If there is a puzzle, I don't know if there is.
I don't know. I think it's pretty difficult not to do that really because you just get dropped out of that story that you're beginning to get invested in, and then it's like
Yeah,
okay, wave goodbye to that, and it's like well, what the
yeah,
fuck, you know? It's so
yeah,
it's totally understandable. For me, my first read was when I first watched it was okay, this was him 20 years ago, like when he was a kid or whatever, and now we're seeing the origin of you know his character maybe, but then you see Patricia Arquette again. It's like okay, well, what the fuck, you know? Like,
yeah, yeah,
so what's going on here? But then Dick Laurent shows up, and that's linked to the beginning of the film, and
yeah,
so there's a bit of a web there to untangle. But the video camera thing, obviously, I would say this is kind of a film noir of sorts. I think they call the term is neo noir, a modern film noir, and
yeah,
I think a key to unlocking most of the film is pretty much at the beginning, or near the beginning, when the police come to the house because they've had these videotapes sent to them, and his wife says, "Oh, he doesn't like video cameras," because they ask him, "Do you have a camera?" And he says, I don't like video cameras," and he says, "I don't like I like to remember things my way."
Yeah.
And they're like, what do you mean by that? He's like, well, I like to remember things the way that I experienced them, not necessarily the way they happened. And a huge trope of film noir is the unreliable narrator. Whose perspective are we seeing the story from?
Yeah.
So, so I feel like at least in some part, the whole story is from this Bill Pullman's character's perspective. And when he shows up at the end, it's like, what? Okay, now he's back,
Yeah.
but he's where this younger guy was, and so it's all clearly he's a key to all of that in some sense, and perhaps we're just seeing this complete mind fuck of yeah, maybe he did kill his wife, went to prison, and this is his whole delusion to escape that.
Yeah.
um,
I love that scene as well with the two when the two police officers come around to inspect the house. He says to him, "Have you got an alarm system?" He said, "Yeah, but we don't use it because it keeps going off. Maybe you should use it."
I forgot that.
Made me laugh at this. Such dry Lynch humor.
Yeah. And speaking of humor, I love Robert Loggia's character, Dick Laurent. Um, Twofold. I think he's a hilarious character, really funny. I love how like Angela Badalamenti gave him this like bombastic theme in the score.
Mm,
It's like blah, blah, like it's so obnoxious. But he shows up and he's so I think he's a fun character to start with. You've got the tailgating scene where he drives the guy off the road and beats the shit out of him, and just the pure venom coming out of his mouth. But I love how it's like a gangster beating the shit out of someone, but it's all about road safety.
yeah.
50 fucking thousand accidents a year because of assholes like you. And I love the origin of that, which is that this is something that happened to Lynch on that road, where he was with Michael Anderson, Man from Another Place, and a guy was tailgating, driving too close to the back, and so Lynch waved him on, and Michael Anderson said, "Wow, you're a better man than I am for letting him pass like that." And Lynch is like, "No, no, I'm not. I want to destroy that man. I just don't have time." So then Lost Highway rolls around and he just puts in what he would have wanted to do, I assume. So I love that story.
Yeah.
One thing I enjoy about the film, I gotta be kind of delicate here, I guess, but Patricia Arquette is a very attractive woman. But
Mm-hmm.
it's interesting, when she's blonde in the second half, she is very strikingly similar to a girl I had a crush on in high school.
Mm.
From the hair to the physical features, but even there's like a mole on the neck, which is similar. And so when he first, what's his name? Balthazar Getty. I forget his name because I think Bill Pullman's Fred, and I forget what his name is. Where is it? Pete. So when Pete is like having this affair with this woman, I just love that whole sequence of the film because it's like a kind of fantasy wish fulfillment thing of a girl I had a crush with in high school.
Yeah. Well, Patricia Arquette was actually one of my first crushes. When I was about 13, 14,
Oh, interesting.
I got the Nightmare on Elm Street box set, and Nightmare 3 was one of my favourite films at the time, and obviously because of her for the
Yeah.
most part.
It's been a long time since I've seen those films. I remember
Yeah.
thinking that the third one was one of the best, but I don't think I'd really
Yeah.
seen her in anything when I was a teenager. But so part of me enjoys that on that level, but also the scene when she shows up at um, the garage where he works, and
Yeah.
the chemistry, like the sexual tension, everything is phenomenal in that sequence. It's a really well performed. Like you really understand why those two kind of come together.
Yeah.
I really love the mystery of Pete's parents. Gary Busey out of nowhere, just like
Oh no.
giving a really good performance. I think, like I really
Yeah.
like him in the film.
I would say probably the only normal performance, and it's not what you expect from Gary Busey.
Exactly. Like I was just like, oh wow, he's actually really good. Uh, but there's the recurring thing of where they're like, okay, Pete, something happened to Pete one night, and they don't want to talk about it, and they don't want to tell him what it was. That
Yeah.
is a really effective part of the film because it's never explained, and so it's left to your imagination. And just the way that they're so, the mother is like in tears thinking about what happened that night, and you see the
Yeah.
girlfriend screaming at the street, and they're like, "We're not going to tell anyone what happened. Don't worry, we're not going to tell the police." It's like, what the fuck was it? Like,
Yeah.
and I love that he leaves that hanging because then you're just imagining like the most fucked up shit. And but I wonder if that is the Bill Pullman character killing his wife.
Yeah, yeah. Because
I wonder if
it
that's what
flashed
it
back, didn't
is.
it? It flashed in the first section of the film, didn't it? You saw like a flash of it. I think.
Mm.
I'm pretty sure he did. But anyway, in that garage scene as well, you also got a fantastic cameo. I think it was his last performance, wasn't it, by Jack Nance?
Yeah, yeah, always good
I
to
think
see.
he auditioned. I think he was supposed to be on set for another film after that. I
Mm.
think I read online, but he got sent home because he was drunk, and he never did a film after that. And I think it was
Yeah,
actually the drink that killed him, wasn't it?
I think he got in a fight when he was
In a
drunk.
bar fight, yeah. See, he was
Yeah,
drunk in a bar fight, yeah, and I think he got concussion, and then I think he died from those
terrible,
injuries. Yeah,
terrible. Speaking of terrible, we just found out last night that Matthew Perry died drowning
yeah,
in a hot tub. Was just a horrible way to go, you know. But yeah, so it was good to see Jack Nance. Obviously, it was his final role. Having worked with Lynch for a few decades or a couple of decades. Um, I think that's like what's his name, Richard Pryor. It's Richard
yeah,
Pryor, but he's in the film for like 20 seconds. So
yeah,
you get these little cameo. Oh, so again, Robert Loggia. So I love the Dick Laurent character, but once the fun and games are over, he's really pretty sinister. Um,
yeah,
I love the scene when he phones up Pete, and Pete is like at this point knows that Dick Laurent is onto him because this woman is his girl, and he knows that he knows, and he knows that he knows that he knows, but he's just like, "You okay, Pete? You
yeah,
okay?" He's like, "Yeah, I'm alright." It's like, okay, good. I'm really glad to know that you're okay. Oh, like that's just so fucking sinister.
yeah.
I love it. It's so well like written and performed, and So yeah, but I don't know. I'd say it's down there on my least favorite. It's just I don't know because of the just the rapid shift of it. But I like everything about it. I just don't know if the whole piece works as well as his other films, I suppose. But I loved revisiting it for sure.
Yeah.
Um,
Is that your bottom ranked? Is that your bottom ranked from what we've seen so far, or in total?
um, yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure yet. I'm not sure, and that's something we're going to get to. Is that as we're going through now, we're going to kind of rank the films
Yeah,
as we go. Keeping with what we've watched so far. So we'll do that at the end. Um, but yeah, it's a film I really really like a lot. There's just scenes in it, and like the tailgating scene. Because when I watched it, I kind of got tired and watched it in two chunks. So when I went back for the second go, I went back to the tailgating sequence, and it was a different part that made me laugh. So I liked that it worked on many different levels, where he beats the shit out of this guy, and then he gets in the car and he's
yeah.
like, sorry about that, Pete. As if like it was like this random like he. I just tailgating is one thing I cannot tolerate.
You just know as well the two big meatheads in the back just immediately put the seatbelts on. Not the nose just about to go down.
Yes. But he just casually waves him over, knowing he's about to just. um, and there's some pretty fucked up moments. The guy gets his head caved in through the coffee table. It's pretty grim,
Yeah, yeah.
by Lynch's standards. And it gets really
What did you
twisted. Go on.
What did you make of the photo disappearing at the end? Patricia Arquette, I think, disappears from the photo, doesn't she?
Yeah, well, that again, that may link to again the remembering things the way that he saw them, not necessarily the way they were.
Yeah,
And then
yeah,
because it's a scene of us just seeing the police investigating the body, maybe we're seeing more of an objective truth to that scene.
yeah,
But I watched a great analysis of the film by a guy whose videos I really like. He did a lot of Twin Peaks stuff, and he has a great analysis of the film. It really fits together. But there's some bits where he's like, yeah, even that doesn't fit. Like, there's no, So he does an amazing job kind of explaining everything or giving his interpretation, but even that isn't airtight. And I think that's kind of maybe not by design, but it's not something Lynch is really that conscious of, like trying to make everything airtight or anything. But it's more feeling, and so this film makes me laugh. It's a film that really instills dread in me in that first 40 minutes. It's a very
yeah. That
you know
opening scene with the doorbell rings and he answers,
mm.
is really, really, really creepy.
Well, part of that guy's
And
interpretation was that scene takes place after he kills his wife because he's so
yeah,
forlorn and like
you said that was a real life thing that happened to Lynch, wasn't it?
yeah. I mean, he insisted it was. There's an interview in this book I've got, Lynch on Lynch, and he mentions that, and I think the interviewer is like, "Come on," and he's like, "No, really, someone rang my doorbell and said Dick Laurent is dead." and Dick Laurent, and so that obviously just stuck in his head and became, you know, part of this film. Very creepy.
I love how these little things happen in Lynch's life. Quite insignificant things, but
Yeah,
they end up being, some of the most iconic things in his films. Is brilliant.
just makes you think, who was Dick Laurent?
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
the real guy, like how the fuck, you know? Because this stuff does go on. I guess it's just
yeah, yeah,
not stuff we hear about. Wow, one thing I found quite chilling was the kind of sex scene at the end where they're just like just doing it in the desert or whatever,
yeah,
and she's like, I forget the line or how it builds up to it, like because he wants her, and then she's like, "You'll never have me," and just walks off, leaving him there
yeah.
just naked in the dust, kind of thing. Um, yeah, lots of little bits I like. The opening sequence, the title sequence. You said our friend James was a big fan of that sequence. You know, you said that, right?
Yeah, yeah. I think more so the phone scene, but yeah, the
Oh,
same thing.
really?
Yeah,
Okay. I thought
yeah,
it
yeah.
literally meant the title sequence itself. I
It could have
do.
been. I'm not sure.
Interesting, yeah. Because I love the road, the image of just the lines, kind
Yeah,
of. It's a
yeah,
very
absolutely.
I don't know how they shot that because it's just like it's a really interesting. Because it's not like a clean shot of the road. It's kind of shaking
Yeah, yeah.
and that great Bowie song that kind of opens and closes the film. Yeah. Anything else you'd like to add about the movie?
I don't think so. No, I think we've covered pretty much
Yeah.
what we can cover.
Yeah.
Other than to say like that, I thought the performances were great from pretty much everyone. Didn't feel like there was any bad performances in there.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, I just other than that, I just really want to go and revisit it and also watch some analysis videos to see, other people's perceptions of it and what they
Yeah.
thought.
Get a flavor of different interpretations.
Yeah, yeah.
It's
And I think we said a while ago that you don't always have to read into Lynch's stuff, but I do think with films like this, for example, it is nice to try and see how other people interpreted it.
Yeah, definitely. And I was reading the chapter on the film in this book, and I can't remember now off the top of my head, but he's very frank about this, like more than most of his other films. Like he gives a lot of answers, or at least half answers, which I was quite surprised by. So I would definitely recommend checking out. And I don't, maybe some of this is actually in the booklet for the Criterion because they tend to take
Yeah,
some of this stuff. But I wanted to read this thing to you. It was really interesting. They were just talking about like the afterlife and stuff. And Lynch says, where is it? I believe it is not the end when we die, but that's my word against somebody else's. It's just the way I believe. It's like going to sleep. You wake up in the morning and you start a new day. That could be a symbol for a bigger picture. You die and you have a little time in a dream, and by golly, you come back. And he thinks a lot of this is mistaking the rope for the snake. We're not experiencing the ultimate reality like now. The real is hiding all throughout life, but we just don't see it. We mistake it for all these other things. Fear is based on not seeing the whole thing. And if you could get there and see the whole thing, fear is out the window. That's quite a profound little piece there
mm.
about how we just view reality, I suppose. But
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
there's some good stuff in that book about Lost Highway in particular, because some of the stuff about Twin Peaks is more about this, the troubles with the studio and the show getting cancelled and stuff. But Lost
Yeah.
Highway, he actually talks a lot about um, intentions with the story and stuff. Anyway,
Cool, man. I have to get that.
yeah, absolutely, I would highly recommend it. It's very, very good. So let's before we, oh, it's my turn to pick the next film. Before we do
Yeah.
that, we'll do our ranking. So we didn't do it last time, I guess, because Elephant Man's kind of the first film, but we'll count in Twin Peaks Fire Walk with Me as it's a movie. So where
Mhm.
would you rank Twin Peaks Fire Walk with Me, Elephant Man, and Lost Highway in order of your
Um,
personal preference?
so at the moment, Elephant Man,
Hmm.
Twin Peaks, Lost Highway.
Yeah, same for me. So there's no like dramatic reveal on that one. It's exactly the same. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Um,
If Elephant Man hadn't have got me so emotionally involved,
mm,
Twin Peaks might have even pipped it just because of how much I've been loving Twin Peaks.
yeah,
So I will say if Elephant Man hadn't have had that emotional impact on me, Twin Peaks probably would have been at the top.
I'm exactly the same way. I completely understand what you're saying. Yeah, For sure. Like I enjoy the world of Twin Peaks maybe a lot more than
Yeah,
the depressing story
yeah,
of Joseph Merrick.
absolutely.
But it is just undeniably, again, like I said last time, one of the best films I've ever seen. So
Yeah, I mean that's top 50 films of any film, really, to me. So
oh yeah, that's interesting to think about. It probably is for me too, or at least definitely top 100 for sure. But yeah, probably
yeah,
top 50.
at least.
Not that I've done my top lists for a long time, but
No, same. Yeah,
for sure, yeah, it's just I'm still reeling from the Elephant Man. I think all these weeks later. Anyway, so
yeah.
the next film we'll be doing, I was just trying to think. It's just to chart our course through these films in an interesting way. Considering we just saw the kind of last performance of Jack Nance, why don't we go back 20 years to 1977 and watch his first big leading role in Eraserhead? So that is my pick for us to both revisit
Nice.
Eraserhead after many years. Because again, when I first watched it, I hadn't seen any of Twin Peaks. I think Dune was the only thing I'd seen when I was a kid, so it was my first, true David Lynch experience. But
It
now
was my yeah.
I have such a different perception of it because I've seen almost all of his other stuff. So I'm really excited to go back to it.
It was my second Lynch film. I saw The Straight Story first.
Hmm.
So it was my second one. I thought, oh, I really like this director. I'll go and check out more of his work.
I was gonna say, what a fucking combo. That's certainly like not either order. That's an interesting double bill to first watch from a director. But yeah, all right. So that's it, I guess. Lost Highway. And yeah, so we'll see you next time with Razorhead when we get around to it. Again, to the two people in the back who are watching these videos, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.
Bye bye.